Russia's summer fuel crisis is now headline news here. Moskovsky Komsomolets leads with crazy fuel tanks. The situation with petrol supply to the regions is near critical. It seems that Russia is on the verge of a full-scale fuel crisis. At many gas stations, AI-95 gasoline has completely disappeared. In Crimea, the Khabarovsk region and Primorye, Russian Far East, drivers queue up for hours to fill up their cars, often to no avail. Prices, both exchange price and retail, are climbing like weeds after a downpour. The authorities are trying to react. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak holds one meeting after another on the gasoline situation, but so far the measures proposed by the government have not brought the expected result. Tension in the country's fuel market is growing. The main problem is the shortage of fuel for ordinary customers, which is affecting more and more regions and taking on increasingly unpleasant forms. For example, the local administration of the Kuril district of Sakhalin had to introduce a limit on sales, no more than 10 litres per person, since August the 20th. Ukrainian drone attacks on Russian oil refineries are a big factor in all of this. But in this article, that's only mentioned in passing. In the period June to August, oil products have always risen in price and seen higher demand due to agricultural work, increased vacations and tourism, scheduled repairs at refineries, to which have now been added unscheduled repairs. No mention of why these unscheduled repairs are needed, the Ukrainian attacks. And later, again, the risks are growing due to unscheduled repairs of oil refineries. No explanation. And only near the end of the article, referring to the fuel situation in Crimea, the Ukrainian peninsula Russia claims to have annexed, in Crimea, and not only in Crimea, drone strikes on fuel depots have caused logistical problems. This is also the top story in today's Nezavisime Gazeta. Its headline, "The wholesale price of gasoline is decreasing, but shortages increasing." In some regions, a litre of AI-95 gasoline is now selling for more than 200 rubles. Exchange prices for fuel have decreased slightly, but at the same time, in many regions, shortages of various brands of gasoline have got worse. Today, Russians are experiencing kilometre-long queues at gas stations, and private ads are selling petrol for between 200 and 300 rubles a litre. True, not everywhere. In many Russian cities, it's still possible to refuel private transport. In the Russian regions, the problem of a shortage of motor fuel is getting worse. At some gas stations, gasoline is sold only by coupons and only to organisations. There are also reports of official bans on the sale of fuel to the population. This is not the case in Moscow, I should say. In Primorye and Khabarovsk region, drivers report kilometre-long lines at gas stations. In these regions, there are interruptions to the supply of AI-92 and AI-95 gasoline. On why gasoline prices are so high, a Russian MP says there may be several factors. The first is speculative. Always during the harvest, when agricultural work is at its peak, fuel sellers strive to raise prices. The second factor is related to attacks by the Ukrainian army on large oil refineries. It's clear that the activities of enterprises will be restored quickly, but this may also affect prices temporarily. Further down, an independent energy expert names 3 conditions for overcoming the crisis: security for oil refineries, the lifting of sanctions on Russian oil refining, and a sharp increase in exchange sales standards, which will lead to increased competition on the stock exchange. Izvestia is more positive. From September, Russia is expected to have a steady surplus of gasoline on the domestic market. This will be facilitated by the completion of repairs at oil refineries. This was announced at a meeting with Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak, where measures to stabilise the situation on the fuel market were discussed. The average cost of gasoline at Russian gas stations has increased by 5.7% since the start of the year, according to the State Statistics Agency. This is higher than the national average inflation for the same period, which remains within 4.2%. The price increase is taking place against the background of repairs to a number of oil refineries following attacks by Ukrainian drones. Since the beginning of August, the Syzran, Novokuybishevsk, Saratov and Volgograd refineries have stopped due to drone strikes in Russia. The Ryazan plant is working at half capacity.